beyond the garden gate, awakening from the dream of certainty. And so, as the final pages of Candide settle like dusk upon a scorched horizon, the laughter fades into silence, not of absence, but of presence, of something arriving quietly after so much noise. What remains is not a grand answer, not a triumphant conclusion in gilded font, but a faint, fertile breath. The seed has been planted in the reader's mind, and it does not scream, it germinates in the soil of disillusionment, a strange form of hope without illusions, without decoration, begins to stir. Voltaire leaves us not with a solved equation, but with a direction, inward, downward, toward the roots. After all the distances crossed, the continents scoured, the utopias glimpsed and lost, we end not on a mountaintop, but in a modest garden. The sword is traded for the spade, the ideology for the shovel, and in that act lies revolution, one that topples kingdoms, but one that reshapes the self. Candide is not merely a story. It is a chrysalis of mind and worldview. One steps into it, believing in meaning, in justice, in divine design. One emerges covered in ashes and wildflowers, still uncertain but strangely whole. It does not offer the comfort of answers, but the dignity of clear-eyed existence. And what greater transformation can there be than that? We live now in a world not so unlike Candide's, marked by war, dogma, disaster, and the persistent theatre of those who insist that all is unfolding according to plan. And yet Voltaire's whisper cuts through the centuries like a gust of wind across a dying fire. Test everything, especially the answers, especially the ideologies that wrap themselves in sacred cloth or algorithmic inevitability, especially the voices that promise paradise while walking past the hungry and the broken. There is a profound call here not to cynicism, but to a muscular kind of realism, one that has looked into the eye of catastrophe and refuses to blink, one that sees the beauty not in the abstract, but in the practice, in the repetition of labor, in the humility of cultivation, in the refusal to give up thought in favor of slogans. To cultivate your garden is not to retreat, it is to reclaim. It is not an escape from the world's pain, but a commitment to act within it, with full knowledge of its imperfections. It is to refuse both the false comfort of Pangloss's optimism and the paralyzing gloom of Martin's cynicism. The garden is the third way, not ideology, not despair, but engagement. Simple, steady, sacred. Voltaire's brilliance was never to draw a straight moral line, but to sketch spirals of irony, of paradox, of humanity turning in on itself in search of meaning. He offers no escape hatch from the absurdity of life. Instead, he hands you a rake and points toward the ground. That plot of earth beside you, filled with weeds, ignored, chaotic, that is where your work begins. And it is not small work. It is holy work. This, then, is the transformation Candide invites, not the firework burst of enlightenment, but the slow revolution of waking up, to see clearly, to refuse what is false, to accept what is broken, to tend what is possible, to move forward without illusions, and yet with care, to replace the worship of grand narratives with the labor of local truth. So let us return not to the palace, not to the battlefield, not even to El Dorado, but to the garden. It waits not as a symbol of what we flee from, but of what we choose to build. It asks no grand credentials. It does not demand perfection. It simply calls us back to attention, to presence, to a rhythm older than ideology and wiser than certainty. As Voltaire closes the curtain on this strange, violent, hilarious opera, we are left not with applause, but with a whisper through the leaves. This is not the best of all possible worlds, but it is the one we have, and what we do with it is up to us. Now, cultivate your garden, the cosmic punchline and the seeds of renewal. There is a moment in Candide after the shipwrecks, the betrayals, the floggings, and the earthquakes, when the titular hero, battered but not broken, sits with his ragtag band of survivors and utters the words that have echoed through centuries. We must cultivate our garden. It is neither a triumphant epiphany nor a resigned sigh, but something far more revolutionary, a quiet manifesto for how to live in a world that defies all attempts to explain it. Voltaire, that sly cosmic jester, has led us through fire and folly only to deposit us here, in the humble soil of the possible. The alchemy of suffering into meaning. Candide's journey mirrors the archetypal hero's descent into darkness, but with a crucial twist. Instead of emerging with a grand revelation to bestow upon humanity, he returns with calloused hands and a simple truth. The horrors he witnesses, the ordered RFs, the slave markets, the wars fought over nothing, are not stepping stones to some higher purpose. They are meaningless in themselves. And yet, by enduring them, by refusing either Pangloss's blind faith or Martin's corrosive despair, Candide stumbles upon the alchemical secret. Meaning is not found, but forged. This is Voltaire's gift. To us, the realization that our gardens, our relationships, our work, our small acts of defiance against chaos are the only things that can ever truly belong to us. Not because they are permanent, but because they are ours to tend. In an age of climate crises, political upheaval, and algorithmic alienation, this lesson is radical in its simplicity. Begin where you are. Do what you can. The cosmic joke and the courage to laugh. Voltaire's greatest trick was wrapping his darkest observations in glittering satire. Candide is a tragedy disguised as a farce, a philosophical treatise masquerading as a bawdy adventure. In doing so, it teaches us how to confront the unbearable not with grim solemnity, but with laughter that cracks open the door to wisdom. There is profound power in this approach today. When faced with the absurdities of modern life, the billionaires racing to Mars while Earth burns, the algorithms that profit from our outrage, the Panglossian pundits insisting this is fine, we have two choices: succumb to despair or meet the absurdity with Voltairean wit. The latter is not escapism, but resistance. To laugh at the cosmic joke is to refuse to be crushed by it. The call to cut the pand. So we arrive at the transformational heart of Candide. Voltaire does not call us to build utopias or storm the barricades of an unjust world, though he would certainly approve of the latter. He calls us instead to the patient, unglamorous work of cultivation, the intellectual garden. Question every dogma, especially the ones you cherish. Let no Pangloss in your mind go unchallenged. The civic garden. Engage with your community not as a savior or a critic, but as a fellow laborer. Pull weeds where you find them. Plant seeds where there's barrenness. The interior garden. Tend to your own spirit without retreating from the world. As Candide learns, solitude is not the answer, but neither is blind allegiance to the crowd. The invitation. Voltaire's masterpiece ends not with a period, but with an ellipsis. The garden is not a finale, it's a beginning. And so this exploration, too, must end with an opening, an invitation to you, the reader. Look at your hands. They are not Panglasses, folded in passive acceptance. They are not Martins, ringing in perpetual gloom. They are Candide's hand scarred, but capable. There is soil beneath your nails already, though you may not have noticed. The seeds are in your pocket. The world is on fire. Yes, but right here is a patch of earth that awaits your touch. Will you cultivate it?